So, what if I told you that one single company, operating mostly from one tiny island, is basically the pivot point for our entire global economy? And not just the economy, but our technology and even our security. Well, this is the story of that company, and it's a story that puts all of us in a really precarious position. Let's just start with a number to put this in perspective. $10 trillion. According to Bloomberg Economics, that's how much it would cost the global economy if this one company just stopped. To be clear, that's a bigger hit than the 2008 financial crisis and the COVID-19 pandemic combined. And here's another number for you. 92%. That is the slice of the world's most advanced, most powerful computer chips that are all made on that one island, Taiwan. And look, we're not talking about the chips in your toaster. These are the brains inside every single iPhone, every powerful AI server, and yeah, every advanced weapons system. Now, this crazy concentration of power led to this big geopolitical idea called the Silicon Shield. The theory is actually pretty simple. Taiwan is so essential to everyone, including its own potential enemies, that attacking it would basically be an act of mutual self-destruction. And for decades, that's been a major reason for stability in the region. Okay, so how strong is this shield really? Because right now, under immense pressure from superpowers, not to mention the relentless march of physics, that shield is being tested like never before. Let's dive into the story of TSMC, the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, and you'll see why it is, hands down, the world's most indispensable company. First, let's just try to wrap our heads around the sheer scale of the world's dependence on TSMC. You see, they're not just a market leader, they're more like a foundational utility for our entire digital world. Okay, so you see this chart. TSMC has almost 65% of the entire chip manufacturing market. That's huge. But you know what? That number actually understates how dominant they really are. Because when you look only at the most advanced chips, we're talking the ones under 10 nanometers that power all our best tech, their market share just skyrockets to that 92% figure we saw a minute ago. So how on earth did one company pull this off? How did they get this much control? Well, it wasn't an accident. It all started with a totally revolutionary business idea.
See, back in the day, companies like Intel were what you'd call integrated. They designed their own chips, and they built their own chips. They did everything. But TSMC's founder, a genius named Morris Chang, came up with the pure-play foundry model. He decided they would do only one thing: manufacture chips for other companies. They didn't design a thing. They just focused on being the absolute best builders in the world.
This quote from the founder of AMD just perfectly captures the old way of thinking. American companies thought real men have fabs, meaning real power was in owning the factories. But what actually happened is they started focusing on the high-margin design work, the IP, and they outsourced the incredibly expensive and difficult job of actually building the chips to TSMC. They let TSMC do the hard part, and well, TSMC got very, very good at it.
But TSMC's lead isn't just about a clever business model. It's about pushing the absolute bleeding-edge limits of physics.
We have officially entered what's called the angstrom era. Okay, a nanometer is a billionth of a meter. An angstrom is a tenth of that. The transistors are getting so unbelievably small that we are literally counting atoms now. And to even get to this point, the entire architecture of the computer chip had to be completely reinvented. So the big breakthrough is this new transistor design called gate-all-around. Think of it like this. The old design was like trying to stop water in a garden hose by squeezing it from 3 sides. You know, some water is still going to leak out. Gate-all-around is like squeezing that hose from all 4 sides at once. It gives you perfect control, and it stops the energy leakage that just plagues these tiny, tiny transistors. But of course, it doesn't stop there. The next huge leap is about completely rewiring the chip to solve what is basically a massive traffic jam problem. This just shows the insane level of innovation we're talking about here. So traditionally, the wires for power and the wires for data signals are all crammed together on the front of the chip, right? It creates a huge bottleneck. Backside power delivery literally moves all the power lines to the back of the chip. It's just like building a dedicated subway system for electricity, which frees up all the streets on the surface for data to move way faster. It's brilliant. So here's the crucial point. The race is incredibly tight. I mean, Intel is catching up fast with its own backside power tech, but the really critical number, the metric that can make or break you, is on that bottom row, yield. This is the percentage of usable chips you get from each giant silicon wafer. A higher yield means less waste, lower costs, and that mastery is what gives TSMC its critical edge, especially for massive customers like Apple and NVIDIA. But here's the twist. making the actual silicon chip, that's only half the battle. The single biggest bottleneck that is throttling the entire AI industry today is step 3, advanced packaging. You have to be able to stitch all the different pieces of a super chip together perfectly, and right now, only TSMC can do that at the scale and quality the world needs. So, this incredible dominance in both manufacturing and technology has put TSMC and, of course, Taiwan itself right at the center of huge geopolitical pressure. The silicon shield is being squeezed from all sides. You have to understand, part of TSMC's magic is the environment in Taiwan. They call it the Hunchu model. Building a multi-billion-dollar factory, or fab, is treated as a streamlined national priority. Everything is centralized, everything is designed for speed and efficiency. But when TSMC tries to copy that success in the United States, like it's doing in Arizona, it just slams into a wall. You've got fragmented regulations, union disputes, cultural clashes, and the result is projects that cost twice as much and take twice as long. This is creating a really deep fear in Taiwan. If America can make its own chips, will it still feel the need to come and defend the island? And the shield is also getting strained from the inside. Taiwan is incredibly vulnerable. It imports 95% of its energy. If there were a blockade, its reserves of liquefied natural gas would last just 11 days. And TSMC itself is a monster consumer of power. It already uses over 6% of the entire nation's electricity, a number that's expected to double. All of this leads to a pretty sobering reality. In a worst-case scenario, like an invasion, there is an ultimate failsafe. Those incredibly complex multi-billion-dollar machines you need to make these chips, they're built by a Dutch company called ASML, and they can be remotely disabled. A kill switch can be flipped in the Netherlands, turning the world's most advanced factories into nothing more than useless bricks. All of this intense pressure is forcing a massive global realignment. It's a high-stakes scramble by every major power to control the future of computing. So to hold on to its position and to maintain the fragile stability of that silicon shield, TSMC has to solve 3 colossal problems at the exact same time. It has to win the engineering race, it has to fix its difficult global expansion, and somehow it has to navigate the insane political storm of the US-China tech rivalry. Right now, there's a global effort to build a more resilient supply chain, something less concentrated. The US, Japan, Europe, they're all spending billions to de-risk themselves from Taiwan. But it leaves us with one last, pretty provocative question. As the world desperately tries to untangle itself from this one critical choke point, are we just spending trillions of dollars to create a whole new set of different ones?